Sexual desire doesn't need to be your enemy. That's the first thing you need to understand. Most advice treats it like some demon you have to wrestle into submission, but that approach usually makes everything worse. Here's what actually happens when you try to suppress it through sheer willpower. Your brain interprets resistance as importance. The more you fight against a thought, the more mental real estate it occupies. It's why telling yourself, "don't think about it," has never worked for anyone in the history of human consciousness. So what's the alternative? Redirect the energy. Sexual desire is fundamentally just energy-seeking expression. You're not trying to kill it or pretend it doesn't exist. You're giving it a different outlet. Physical exercise is the most obvious option because it literally burns through that restless intensity. Not a casual walk either, something that demands your full attention and pushes your body hard enough that afterwards you're too depleted to fixate on anything. But here's where most people stop, and it's a mistake. Physical release only addresses the surface level. Underneath, there's usually something else driving the intensity. Boredom does it. So does loneliness, stress, or feeling stuck in life. When your day lacks purpose or genuine engagement, your mind defaults to the easiest source of stimulation available. You need to audit your daily routine honestly. How much of your time involves passive consumption versus active creation? Scrolling feeds, watching content, letting algorithms decide what holds your attention. All of that primes your brain for seeking easy dopamine hits. Sexual desire becomes amplified in that environment. Replace passive time with absorption. Find something complex enough that it demands your complete focus. Could be learning an instrument, building something with your hands, studying a subject that genuinely fascinates you. The key is that it has to be challenging. Easy distractions won't cut it because your mind will wander right back. There's also the timing factor most people ignore. Notice when the urges hit hardest. Early morning, late evening, right after you wake up, or before bed. Once you identify the pattern, you can preempt it. If evenings are your vulnerable window, that's when you schedule your most engaging activities. Don't leave gaps for your mind to fill with the default option. Now, about the mental game. When desire surfaces, observe it without judgment. Sounds strange, but the moment you label it as bad or shameful, you create internal conflict that paradoxically strengthens it. Instead, acknowledge it neutrally. There's that feeling again. Then consciously shift your attention elsewhere, not through force, but through choice. This gets easier with practice, but only if you're simultaneously building a life that genuinely interests you. You can't willpower your way out of emptiness. Fill the space with something meaningful first. The desire doesn't disappear completely, but it stops running the show. That's the realistic goal, not elimination, but proper proportion. You're in control, not because you've mastered some superhuman discipline, but because you've built a life compelling enough that cheap dopamine stops being so appealing.